We get things started here at State Farm Arena as Indiana 5-game road trip. That is the longest of the season for them. It's a 2-game homestand for Atlanta and a new territory for them as this is their first game at State Farm. Offensive rebound goes to Indiana off the rip, and Alyssa Smith going at Tina Charles or Cheyenne Parker-Tyus, able to deny it. Clock underneath, Kelsey Mitchell able to get the move underneath. Kelsey Mitchell coming off of a game where she too had 22 points and was the leading scorer against Atlanta.
And the move is the right word when describing Kelsey Mitchell because she is quick and she likes to move with and without the ball. Atlanta has to locate her at all times.
Nice find underneath. Everyone talks about the connection between Tina Charles and Cheyenne Parker-Tyus, just off the fingertips. Will deflect it out of bounds. Atlanta will get it underneath. Chrissy Sides in her second season in Indiana. Love catching up with her, talking about what this season has meant for them, starting off 0-5 and being able to really right the ship as Tina Charles able to knock down the first bucket for Atlanta.
Tina Charles with that high release that we talk about all the time, Angel. They have her wingspan listed as 6'8". I think it's a lot longer than that, the high release.
We didn't get the confirmation.
I know, we got to
about
talk
it.
to Tina.
Maybe at halftime. 10 on the shot clock. Alyssa Smith didn't like the look on the block. Haley Jones with the Caitlin Clark assignment. Smith short.
Cheyenne Parker came up to help a little bit, showing bodies on Caitlin Clark. Good ball rotation defensively for Dream on that possession.
Cheyenne Parker-Tyus actually came off of the bench for the first time this season against Indiana. She had her, or tied her season high with 18. Caitlin Clark blocked by Haley Jones. Welcome to Atlanta. Alicia Gray. Cheyenne Parker-Tyus. We've seen a lot of blocks with Aaliyah Boston getting in on the action. Christy Wallace at the rim and so crafty with her finish.
And that is a familiar name for Atlanta Dream fans as she played her first season in the WNBA in the ATL.
It's here actually as a teammate with Erica Wheeler, and it was a collision between Alicia Gray and Kelsey Mitchell.
Such a high basketball IQ, something that Tina Charles talked to us about today at shoot-around. She's been able to fill in at point guard, played multiple positions, and her defense this season has been outstanding.
The steal for Aaliyah Boston, the send up the floor to Alyssa Smith. And off that turnover, out of the timeout. It's not the best set for Atlanta. As Alicia Gray pulls up, that one rims in, and that's something that's good for them coming off of a game where she struggled from the field.
Really good screen by Nia Coffey, and that's something that Nia Coffey does well every time down the floor. It tries to help the continuity of the offense.
Caitlin Clark on the board with a logo 3. So back-to-back buckets for the Fever. And a miscommunication between Cheyenne Parker-Tyus and Gray.
You heard the roar of the crowd here in Atlanta as Caitlin Clark off of some screening action there by Alyssa Smith gets an open three-point shot. That's a tough defensive assignment for Haley Jones. It's going to take a team effort to contain Clark.
But then you also have Kelsey Mitchell who gets the bucket there.
Yeah, Kelsey Mitchell just looks really confident in her game right now. The decisiveness, able to get to the middle of the floor, and that silky smooth pull-up.
In and out for Tina Charles' 3 attempt. Kelsey Mitchell, as you mentioned, up the floor, so quick and off the mark, a little bit too much heat.
Something Atlanta Clark has to do is guard the passer. Indiana is starting to find that chemistry in the open court where they are getting those long passes out for easy buckets. You got to pick up the ball early and take away the vision of the ball handling.
Tina Charles with her second touch, and Tanisha Wright telling you it's very important to establish her early in the game.
We've never seen Tina Charles make the same post move twice in one game. I mean, she has every post move you can think of in her arsenal, including the hook shot.
Smith outside, versatile, can knock it down, and does. talked about the #1 overall draft picks that are featured within this game as Alicia Gray is able to respond with a triple of her own. Well, Melissa Smith in that Ryan Howard class, #2 overall.
So important for Alicia Gray to get going offensively in this game and to establish herself in the absence of Ryan Howard as a primary scorer on the perimeter.
Nia Coffey coming off a game where she hit 4 triples off the mark on her first attempt.
Good job by the Dream getting back in transition defense, because that's where Kelsey Mitchell likes to strike.
Wallace left alone, and another triple goes down for Indiana as they balloon their lead 17-9. But Atlanta has done their part as well with back-to-back threes.
Cheyenne Parker-Tyus has the ability to stretch the floor. If she can hit that shot consistently, it opens up things for her and Tina Charles to really own the middle of the floor in the front court.
Just her second 3 of the season. She frees up space. What a find by Gray.
Parker-Tyus has gotten a second wind. She gets down the floor and gets early position in the post.
Coming off one of her best seasons in her career, named an all-star for the first time, scored over 600 points.
The Dream went over this defense in shoot-around. They are going to double Aaliyah Boston. Look at Ariel Powers' numbers on paper, and she won't blow you away in terms of her field goal percentage, but the timeliness of the buckets she scores, so important for the Dream's momentum.
Melissa Smith couldn't complete the 3-point play. One possession game, Haley Jones spin around, finds the bucket.
That's her move. If you're scouting Haley Jones, she loves to come down the open court, get into the post, and shoot that turnaround jumper.
Atlanta has numbers. Bounce pass up the floor. Tina Charles connects. Close to another steal for Atlanta. This is just a 1-point game. Wallace at Powers, and just as tough as they come.
For whatever reason, Christy Wallace seems to have some of her better games against the Atlanta Dream. She has gotten it going early.
So some contact. Will be a foul on the floor.
Take a look at the offense for the Atlanta Dream. We talked about that patent move from Haley Jones, taking Caitlin Clark down into the post to defend, and then on the run, Tina Charles, and perfect pass from Haley Jones as well. You mentioned this earlier, but Jones coming off of a very nice performance of 11 points against Minnesota, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. She looks really good hitting the strides in these last couple.
For Tanisha Wright, she says she's more confident, so something that she wants to build on. Backdoor, Ariel Powers gives them a bucket.
And you see the respect for Tina Charles. 3 defenders are looking at her, watching her moves in the post, waiting. And of course, they get an easy one.
Kelsey Mitchell is so lethal from outside.
She'll lull you to sleep. Her handle is legit. In the moment you rest, she's gonna raise up and fire.
At 24 points against them last game at Ariel Powers, I feel like she's feeling better tonight.
That is where Powers is shooting a higher percentage, 42% from 3, higher than what she's shooting from the field. And right now, Kelsey Mitchell is starting to cook.
Kelsey Mitchell with 9 points, 4 for 6 from the field. Gray outside, 3 ball, short. 15 left in the first quarter. The officials are looking at the jersey of Ariel Powers. I'm not sure if there was any blood that needs to be tended to. Natalie Trotter, their athletic, in her 3rd season with the Atlanta Dream. Tina Charles, that was deflected by Aaliyah Boston.
Talked about Tina's wingspan. Well, Aaliyah Boston's got one to match and gets a good contest there. And there is definitely some jockeying for position in the
giving on the other side in the paint.
What a classic matchup between a future Hall of Famer in Tina Charles and the next up superstar at the center position in Aaliyah Boston.
Less than 2 minutes to play here in the first quarter. A lot of attention on Clark outside as Katie Samuelson can also knock it down.
Indiana's moving the basketball very well. Whenever the Dream collapses or sends two defenders, they are moving it, finding the open player, and they're ready to knock down the shot.
They're 8th in the league in assists, but I don't think that's indicative on what they've been able to be in the last 4 games.
And how quickly they get down the floor. I mean, we can talk about their youthfulness and being the youngest team in the WNBA. That can be an advantage when it comes to getting up and down the floor.
So is this what practice does for a team when they get a few days, that they've been able to actually build on that chemistry? Chrissy Sides mentioned how they are able to get things right away. A foul underneath. It'll go against Aaliyah Boston. That'll be her.
Get a bucket in the first few seconds off of the clock has been really impressive.
So possession will go to the Indiana Fever.
So going back to your point against the Fever and them getting some practice time, that absolutely makes a difference. Talking to Christy Sides today, you know, this is a team that's not only young, but needed time to gel. And the nation in the world was watching every Indiana Fever game to start this season. So lots of pressure to add on to the expectations and a tough schedule, very tough schedule.
So a WNBA app to vote daily until June 29th. You want to make sure you send your favorite players to Phoenix.
It's going to be a fun time. I remember the last All-Star in Phoenix. Boy, it's one of my favorites. You always remember your favorite All-Stars, and Phoenix does a great job. The X Factor fans are fantastic, and it's going to be the U.S. Olympic team, our national team, against the WNBA All-Stars.
It's going to be a lot of
Cox that are probably in the building right now. I appreciate that.
You know who's number 2 and 3?
Caitlin Clark is number 2. Number 3 is Aaliyah Boston.
There it is.
Hey, listen, ding, ding, I do my homework, okay?
So Lorella Kubai checks in for the Atlanta Dream, who's had some minutes sparingly in the last few games for Atlanta, but Tanisha Wright really loves what she can add on both ends of the floor.
And she spent some time with the Dream in camp last season, and Tanisha feels like that's why she's got a leg up in this situation, because she spent some time with this team and she's familiar with what they're trying to do.
About a 4-second difference between the game and shot clock. Dangerfield holding up Erica Wheeler at the top of your screen. Wheeler gets a screen from Samuelson. 7 on the shot clock. Pulls up, midi, every part of the rim, and it counts.
Erica Wheeler is another who spent time in Atlanta. And that will do it for last 4. So absolutely getting into the gym, practicing together, working on their chemistry, but getting the ball inside is absolutely key. Slowing down and being more intentional about their offense in general.
And I remember as Aaliyah Boston able to rip down that rebound, having the conversation with her, just not about offensively, but defensively, how this team needed to change. And she said, I have to be a better leader for this group, and that's something we've seen in the last few games.
Their floor spacing is so much better. And their pace, Angel, this has been, I mean, I am out of breath after the first quarter. 35 points for Indiana. The Dream have to find some defense in the second.
And some offense as well, as it's a 3-on-1 opportunity. Crystal Dangerfield kicks the ball.
Get the ball and push it out and get opportunities in transition.
And going back to that as well, because when we talked to the coaches, they said defensively, we feel like we are in a good space. Coming off of that game against Minnesota, even in the loss, that was the 3rd best scoring team in the league, and they held them to 68 points. Now how can they balance the floor? Aaliyah Boston going at Kubai. Asks for the ball back. Left shoulder, it's pretty much automatic.
Great repost by Aaliyah Boston. I mean, she didn't have the position she wanted the first time in, but was able to get it back and score very easily with the deeper position down low.
This is the biggest lead for the Fever, as Atlanta is still looking for their first points of that she shot from the field. in their last contest against Washington. 10 on the shot clock for Atlanta. Tina Charles touch pass to Nia Coffey in the corner, in and out. Bounce pass, and that's broken up by Cheyenne. Powers, baseline, off the mark.
Not a bad shot there by Aerial Powers. That is her game. And when she comes in, she is expected to check in and add an offensive punch, a player that can go get her own bucket from anywhere on the floor.
Aerial Powers has scored in double figures in 4 of the last 5 games that she's been in. Asked for the ball against Caitlin Clark. Showing post moves. And Clark might have gotten a block.
Tough defense on the interior by Caitlin Clark, getting the stop.
Smith pulls up, and
I'll tell you what, Alyssa Smith does not get enough credit for how skilled she is and the number of ways she can score the ball, that time going down low into the post. And that's something else that Christy Sides talked about, is when she is on the interior, just adding another weapon to this offense.
At 10 points against Atlanta earlier this season. These two teams saw each other just 8 days ago.
And this is something we're seeing from Indiana as well. They didn't have numbers, so they come back and they set up a play. And I think that's a foul on the shooter.
Golden State showdown between Bay FC and Angel City. It's the National Women's Soccer League on ION. Saturday, spec in for Atlanta as Aerial Powers has a conversation with Tanisha Wright, and the Indiana Fever build on this lead. Atlanta still looking for their first bucket in the second quarter. Haley Jones held up and able to draw the foul against Hull.
That was actually really good anticipation.
After Stanford being conducted there. Haley Jones able to knock down the free throw there. We mentioned earlier just what we've seen from Haley Jones over the past 5 games really for the Atlanta Dream. She's been thrust into the point guard position as she misses a second of the pair.
Atlanta short-handed at that point guard spot without Jordan Canada, who they're anticipating her return any day now.
Jordan Canada, we're told, is trending in the right direction. Hopefully we'll be able to see her before the All-Star break as another turnover for Atlanta. This will be their 3rd. Caitlin Clark asks for the ball, and that's why.
And that is why Caitlin Clark is so dangerous, is that you think you have her defended from 3, but she has the ability to get the shot up and over the defense.
Gets the ball back. Clark already with 2 triples on the night. Puts it off the deck, held up in the paint, and a travel call, which will lead to the 5th for the Fever.
Nice.
Or Atlanta, rather, looking for their first field goal of the second quarter.
And slow the pace of the Indiana Fever. They also have to make this a more physical game. They're giving Indiana way too much space defensively. They got to make them uncomfortable.
And we'll send it to Tabitha.
Yeah, guys, Tanisha Wright was pretty passionate with her team in that last huddle, yelling to them passionately, saying, listen, we're too worried about the referees. Everything is about the referees. We have to be able to make plays and be intentional, have multiple efforts, pressure the ball, and help the helper guys.
I agree. That ball pressure has to be there at all times. Indiana's just able to move the ball right now offensively in any way they want. They're spreading the floor. Their floor spacing is good. And Atlanta just is not communicating defensively.
Indiana is shooting 65% from the floor, and they're shooting 66% from 3. That is something that we watched in shoot-around, where she made sure her team understood that it was instilled. You have to have a hand in their face.
And you also have to just guard your one-on-one assignment. Like, you cannot stay in help rotation.
Deflection by Hull. Atlanta gets it back, and Tina Charles able to get them their first bucket of the quarter.
Tina Charles is used to making buckets under pressure. That is what she has done throughout her career at multiple levels.
Tina Charles just had 2 points against Indiana in their last possession, but Caitlin Clark likes the rims.
Yeah, a little two-man game there by Indiana, and somebody has to get the hand up in Caitlin Clark's face.
A lot of contact underneath, and an offensive foul will go against Charles, and Alyssa Smith was holding her face for a second.
Yeah, take a look here in the corner, little Alexi Hold with the toss back to Caitlin Clark. And it looks like Atlanta Dream defenders were in each other's way, and no one gets out to contest.
Caitlin with 9 points, all coming from distance as Kelsey Mitchell checks back in the ball game. Hull will take a seat, and here comes Indiana with the rock. Less than 5 minutes in the half. Indiana riding a 3-game win streak, looking to win on the road though, as they are just 2-6.
Yeah, they were able to go home, get their confidence, win those 3 games in front of their home crowd, and now they're hoping that that translates to this road stretch.
4-game win streak at home. Besides mention, as Tabitha told us earlier after that Chicago game, what they've been able to do together since that point. Winning 5 of the last 7 games. 9 on the shot clock. Melissa Smith gets the pass from Clark, but short on the attempt. Up the court, Tina Charles gets the bucket, and that's a rare look up the floor for Atlanta.
Haley Jones has made some nice passes up the floor in this game, but you're right, Angel, not enough. Good find, and Tina Charles running to the cup.
More pressure from Haley Jones up top. And a technical is going to be assessed against Tanisha Wright. That is
big crowd here in Atlanta. Great opportunity. She's trying to get her team to wake up a little bit on the defensive end.
And a travel call underneath. Aaliyah Boston. Tina Charles will get a touch here with 11 points.
You have to. I mean, between Tina Charles and Alicia Gray, you've got to run your offense around those 2 players, but everyone else has to be ready to score.
On cue, she gets the touch, gets her rebound, and gets the bucket.
And she is not happy with what she feels like. There's some fouling happening right now. Atlanta Dream basketball.
And you talked about Tanisha Wright trying to fire up her
Commissioner's Cup. How about the Minnesota Lynx? Probably the biggest surprise for me in the WNBA standings right now is how well Cheryl Reed's team has.
But the balance we've seen from that roster has been very impressive, as there's a foul that will send Alicia Gray to the free throw.
And all the above.
And if you like her performance this season, you got to send her to Phoenix. Nia Coffey guarding Caitlin Clark now, and that was all but down for Caitlin. Gray putting on the Jets at the rim. You ask for more offense, especially with Ryan Howard.
Keeping that in mind, some other players have to knock down shots.
Yep, absolutely, and pace is different for both sides. You mentioned just the fluid offense that we're seeing from Indiana, as Atlanta now on an 8-0 run. And their pace working for them because of the looks they're getting up the floor.
And probably 8-0 since Tanisha Wright got that technical.
It's a good point, as Aaliyah Boston changes that narrative. Have to look at the rim.
That's a tough shot. Splitting the double team, that is a difficult shot.
Just looks so different over the last few games, and the battle we're seeing between Boston and Charles has been a lot of fun. 3rd foul for Aaliyah Boston, though, so Melissa Smith quickly jumps off the bench for Indiana, as Aaliyah Boston still trying to get some information from Jeff Wooten. Clear Auburn. It's like a dissertation. They've been talking to both sides for quite some time.
The dissertation. I see what you're getting at here, Angel.
So Tina Charles now at the free throw line.
And that's one reason you bring Tina Charles to Atlanta in the offseason, is Tanisha Wright, Dan Padover at the end of the day said, we need more talent. And you see the need for that right now with Ryan out, to have someone else that can be a consistent scorer.
How about Ariel Powers, too, with 7 points off of the bench, the only bench scorer for Atlanta tonight.
And that's just a good old blow-by by Kelsey Mitchell. I don't know where Healthside defense is, but it needs to be present when Kelsey Mitchell is on the drive from the wing.
It's like you see her and then you don't. Backdoor for Naz Hillman, nothing there. Charles called her own number. And roll that one in as Samuelson pushes it up the floor. Katie Lou finds Clark. A lot of contact off the drive by Haley Jones, so that'll be another foul for her, which is her second. Had 12 rebounds. Told the media, I've done that a couple of times in, college, if you've been following much, but don't get used to it.
Yeah, she said don't get used to it, though. Not giving herself enough credit. I actually predicted that Caitlin Clark would average right around a triple-double in the WNBA, or be flirting, every night with a triple-double in the W.
Less than a minute to play here in the first half. Nalissa Smith facing up against Tina Charles. The bump there. It will be on the floor. Actually, they'll say it's bonus, so they are over the limit with Smith shooting 2, and Tina Charles now with 3. So Aaliyah Boston went to the bench earlier with 3, and now Tina Charles flirting with some foul trouble as well.
So you can see why all that negotiating was happening, because no one wants 3 fouls in the first half.
Off the mark for Smith on the first one. Tina Charles will take a seat with Cheyenne Parker-Tyus checking back in the ball game. Melissa Smith, a 73% free throw shooter on the season. One of the 4 players rather, averaging double figures on this roster, and in and out on the second attempt. Dangerfield in the game for Atlanta. Execution for Gray to get the rock on the baseline. High arcing, just short.
And that's the right play. You run to perfection with the screen and all.
Gap D by Gray. Cheyenne Parker-Tyus trying to hold up Smith, and 1.
Cheyenne was
versatile she is, and just athletic with how she just releases, can turn, release, and knocks down the shot.
And she's like to float on the perimeter early in her WNBA career, more from the outside, but she's been taking on that challenge of being that toughness in the middle more often this season.
Kelsey Mitchell able to get the rebound off of the free throw attempt for Fever. Cheyenne on Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey, 3 ball, good. Kelsey Mitchell in double figures. 6 on the game clock. And a foul underneath for Samuelson. Now Clark looking at the rim to see if she can get anything off, but says, I'll just hold it. Doesn't want to take away from that percentage.
You need some scoring from the outside, and definitely from the three-point line. The Dream was 0 for 2 from 3 in the second quarter.
In that previous play, there was a defensive three. Naz Hillman, Nia Coffey, Tina Charles, who has the 3 fouls that you picked up in the first half. Gray and Nia Coffey. Or Haley Jones, excuse me. Six on the shot clock. Gray releases in short. Naz Hillman tracks down the rebound. And it's just tough to pass over the outstretched hands of Aaliyah Boston with 2 deflections in that series.
Boy, the interior defense for the Indiana Fever on that movement.
It should be another thing that Atlanta seeks to get more points on the board. Down 15. As we're just underway in the third quarter. Tanisha Wright that picked up the technical foul.
And that did kind of ignite Atlanta some, but they closed the second quarter with just giving up too many points. Their defense was not what it needed to be.
Caitlin Clark, who had 7 points against Atlanta in their first meeting, has 9 now. Kelsey Mitchell guarded by Gray. Nia Coffey getting the assignment in the second half. Boston, beautiful dive to the rim. The connection you talked about earlier in the ball game, we're seeing from them, leading to their success.
And when she gets a screen, it's not always for the score. Sometimes she's looking to pass, and that's exactly what happened in that possession. The screen freed up a passer.
Caitlin Clark has 5 assists. Most of them going to Melissa Smith, who has been a huge performance in this game so far, and Clark off the mark there. Gray briefly lost handle, able to get it back, and that interior look just not on target for Atlanta. They will get the ball back. 12 on the shot clock.
On the offensive end, Angel, you and I talked about it at half, but also her defense and how underrated it is, and the number of ways she can plug the gaps and clean up mistakes on the defensive end.
6'2" guard as Atlanta steps on the sideline, leading to another turnover. That will be their 6th. But it's something that she has told us throughout this season, really protecting that second line on the backside.
And that's what Coach Goris spoke to Tabitha about, is the second line of defense, that help defense on straight line drives.
So Atlanta able to get the tie up. It will be between Haley Jones, be that person for Atlanta. Tina Charles at the rim, misses the mark, but will get 2 free throws. Tina Charles, who had 15 at half, coming off of back-to-back double-doubles, picked up her 5th double-double of the season in her first year in this system. Kelsey Mitchell, Tina Charles, backs off. Kelsey Mitchell makes her pay.
A favorable switch. A lot of guards love it when a post player is lined up in front of them, because they can create that space to get the shot off, and the quick release as well with Kelsey Mitchell.
The and one on the other end, so Atlanta will have an opportunity for the 3. Haley Jones able to finish at the free throw line.
Great job by Atlanta in this possession. Aerial power is really not giving Caitlin Clark any room to breathe.
The double team on Aaliyah Boston leads to a turnover. Gray at the rim is able to draw the foul. There's the pace you wanted.
And it started with
able to get the rebound. Tina Charles with the head fake, finishing at the rim. That's vintage TC.
Again, we haven't seen her make the same move twice. That time to sweep and go from the mid post. There's really nowhere on the court where Tina Charles can't impact the offense.
And here comes Mitchell, sends it off to Smith. That's beautiful offense from Indiana.
Nice pass to the weak side. Atlanta is closing out, doesn't get there in time on Smith.
Indiana, 17 assists on 25 made field goals as Haley Jones trying to be a part of the action on the offensive end.
And that's also been successful offense for Atlanta, getting Haley Jones into the post with Caitlin Clark on her back.
8 points for Jones. Rebound to Gray. Atlanta's running. Sends it up to Naz Hillman off the fingertips. It gets tipped though, so we'll stay with Atlanta.
Ball here passed by Kelsey Mitchell, touches the paint, and the no look on the collapse was so beautiful for that wide open jumper.
But it's the speed in which Kelsey Mitchell is able to make the decision, pass it out, pinpoint.
She couldn't even see. She couldn't even see her.
Gray off the deck, draws the foul, and Clark will be assessed the foul. Between her and Tina Charles, they have been to the free throw line on 4 different occasions tonight. Lorella Kubai will check in for Tina Charles. Tina Charles has her 4th 20-point game this season.
She's so skilled. I mean, she can shoot it. Her footwork is impeccable. She has great hands. She has been a huge asset for this shorthanded Atlanta Dream offense. The vet.
Turn me up, say defense!
Atlanta without the likes of Ryan Howard, who had 26 points against Indiana in their first meeting, actually tied her career high 6 triples. So Atlanta seeing who pulls up as Aaliyah Boston. Spin cycle in a bucket.
Got to know where your help is coming from. Kubai's got to cover the baseline because her help is coming topside.
Gray with the bucket. They'll need more of that.
And what a start to this third quarter for Alicia Gray. Much needed for the Dream.
Atlanta outscoring Indiana 16-9 in this frame. Gray sends it out. 3 ball. Short by Powers.
But this is the intensity on defense that has started this run for Atlanta. The help side's got to be there.
How about the finish at the other end for Clark?
You got to cover. I mean, Aerial Powers is shifting the mindset defensively by really playing up on Clark. You got to have some help side on the backside.
And that's what Tabitha was mentioning out of the break. It can't just be one-on-one. Who's going to step up?
Right here, Aerial Powers really pressing up on Clark, but Clark's got some speed off of the bounce, and help defense does not get there in time to impact it. Look at Caitlin Clark getting her shoulders past the defense, and that's the straight line drive, absolutely, that Tabitha mentioned coming out of the break.
Caitlin Clark with 7 20-point games, 2 30-point games this season. And now in double figures. 7 on the shot clock. Gray off the bounce again. Taps it out. Atlanta with another look at the rim. Underneath, Gray was demanding the ball, and a very good pass from the corner for AP.
On these free throw opportunities, that's the important aspect of this, and they've done that tonight, 19 for 21.
And with 4:15 left in the third quarter, they're in the bonus. So the level of aggression that we're seeing at the rim, they're really putting their foot on the gas in the open court.
And I go back to the change in defensive assignment by Tanisha Wright in this third quarter. It has set a different tone and a very different message, even coming off of the bench with AP as well.
Erica Wheeler checks in for Indiana. Gray, 17 points so far tonight. She has 8 in this quarter.
The Indiana Fever having to take the ball out of the net a lot more here in this third than we saw in the first half, and that's affected their pace.
Clark outside, and that's good.
Clark just uses the physicality of Aerial Powers to get that shot off.
4 triples for Miss Clark. Three players in double figures for Indiana. Atlanta looking for a third person in double figures, and just off the mark from outside. Clark again, and that will be short. Might have been a heat check as she was seeing that.
Shoot the ball, that's the left wing where she is very, very capable and comfortable. That's a spot that goes back to Iowa.
And a spot where her number's on the floor. The NCAA's record holder for scoring both men and women is so Haley Jones gets 2 free throws. And next Friday night, the Atlanta Dream head north to Connecticut to take on the Sun. That's followed by a clash in the desert between the Sparks and the Mercury. It's a WNBA on Ion Friday nights all season long.
And sending our love to Cameron Brink, who will be out for the rest of the season after tearing her ACL. Cam, you're going to come back stronger and better. We are all with you with loves and prayers.
Absolutely. Melissa Smith, a power move underneath.
Yeah, that again, who has been able to stop Melissa Smith down low?
So far, no one. 15 points for Melissa Smith, 5 rebounds to add to that stat line. Less than 3 minutes to go in the third frame. Haley Jones working baseline up and under, no good. Clark left alone. Bad idea.
I don't know where the defense is.
And with that, it's the communication that Tanisha Wright has been very vocal about, has been the foundation.
She keeps getting better.
So lethal. Charles, the quick turnaround, and the foul there. And if that's on Aaliyah Boston, that may be her fourth, and a technical foul.
Called. Tina caught a bow going for a rebound, looked like in the throat.
Aerial Power is able to knock down the tech free throw. 2 more free throws for Tina Charles.
Great opportunity for Atlanta here. You can cut this down. Defensive end, and I like the lineups that Tanisha Wright has been using.
You mentioned Atlanta working their way back into this game and doing so from the charity stripe. This is their 28th free throw of the game, as Indiana has shot 10.
But you got to capitalize.
Yes.
Tina missing 2 free throws there.
Naz Hillman picks up the foul. On the other side, that'll be her first. Yeah. Erica Wheeler, outside, in and out. Offensive rebound, 3rd attempt, as Aaliyah Boston was able to track it down. More contact, and that's what makes Caitlin Clark so dangerous.
Line ready, but the back line hasn't been awake consistently tonight, and so she puts her hands on her instead to try to stop her.
Aaliyah Boston has been a back line just completely demolishing them.
And when you have Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston on single side together, you cannot help off of Clark. So where can that double come from? It's tough. You can't dig off of Clark in that situation.
15-point lead for Indiana. Inside look, Aerial Power is able to save it back in bounds. Naz Hillman completes it. Powers asking for the ball at the rim, and just off the mark, Naz Hillman.
I thought there was a foul there.
I think everyone in the arena did. And Aerial Powers falling to the floor, wanting the contact there as well.
Atlanta needed to be a little more disciplined on that possession. What a perfect bounce pass for a cutting the list of their defense off of a bad shot, off of a turnover. They're going.
Beaver are on an 11-3 run. And that's over the last 3 minutes as Tanisha Wright and Aerial Powers try to work things out. That has been her energy and her voice on the floor.
Yeah, she's having a conversation about that last shot by Powers and what she should be looking for in that situation. She wants her to be aggressive, but wants her to do it and be smart.
Swipe at the ball for Erica Wheeler. Atlanta able to retrieve it. Less than a minute to play here in the third. Travel call for Ariel, and one thing that Tanisha has told us is how they have to slow things.
And you have a point guard on the bench who's won a championship, who can run possessions like Jordan Canada can. That's something you're looking forward to, having that championship level experience at the point to control those situations.
I know Atlanta fans are tired of hearing the updates of how good she looks in practice and ready to see her in a uniform. 2 on the shot clock. Mitchell with the ball, and she cannot get a shot off in time. So great defense. 2-time champ with Seattle is in the trade for Erin McDonald to bring her from the Sparks in the offseason. 4 on the game clock. Dangerfield off the bounce, working her way to the rim. And no shot attempt for Atlanta.
Conversations and clap-offs with the fans. She is talking to the officials. She is negotiating and talking. I just forgot how engaged outside of the basketball aspect of this she is during the game.
I think a good word for that, too, is passionate.
Absolutely.
Final frame here at State Farm Arena, and for a record of 11,000 fans previously for a WNBA game here in Atlanta, they have shattered that tonight. The official attendance, 17,575.
That is just beautiful. This is the WNBA team of the Southeast. And there's a lot of big women's basketball fans in this building.
Almost feels like a home game for them, something that they have done pretty well. Winning 4 straight at home, 3 straight overall. And we're seeing a lot of physicality.
Physicality, should I say, in the second half. You gotta make Indiana uncomfortable. You gotta take away their space.
So that's 3 consecutive fouls on Atlanta. So Gray picking up her 3rd. And at this rate, and it could be in the bonus
very quickly.
Very quickly. Five on the shot clock. Boston making a play at the rim. Erica Wheeler rips it around. Couldn't get that one to fall.
Good rebound in the crowd by Naz Hillman.
Gray thought about it, takes it, and gets the bucket.
Good hesitation by Alicia Gray. It's been quite the second half for her offensively.
Saw the 8 points in the 3rd quarter after starting off just 1 for 8 from the field. 9 for 10 from the free throw line, though. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Holt, 3 ball, good.
The ball movement by the Indiana Fever, inside out, very impressive.
A couple of substitutions coming in for Indiana at the next break. Tina Charles has 22, has matched her season.
Charles, and they look like they kind of came out of the locker room friendly after the half, but then it got chippy again.
A lot.
It's like, hey girl, how are you? The commentators are basically commentating what we think the players are saying in those moments.
I love that. Sign me up.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous with you in that, but yes.
You should be.
Gray couldn't get that one to fall, but she has been their offense in this second half. Tina Charles had 15 in the first and 6 right now in this ball game, but it's how Indiana has been able to share the ball. The balance that we're seeing. Samuelson with 8 points off of the bench in her 14 minutes of play.
And their spacing and how quickly and efficiently they get down the floor. And nice finish there by Naz Hillman, who has been doing a lot of the little things here in the 3rd quarter, getting more minutes here in the second half.
We talked about the high IQ for Naz Hillman. It was very interesting having conversation with her. She said, I was doing a clinic with some kids that were at Microsoft, just learning about tech and learning about how you can apply that to daily life. And it's cool to get to know the player beyond the court.
Absolutely. I mean, these women are so dynamic. I can't say it enough. Yes, they're outstanding basketball players, but they speak several languages and they have philanthropic and community passions and endeavors, and they're learning trades on the side, and some of them are moms. It's like, what can't they do?
Smith off the mark. Dangerfield thought she had a look for a brief second. Tina Charles.
That's where they got to get the ball.
You're onto something. Another bucket for Tina Charles, now her season high. Smith took a tumble, 9 on the shot clock. Clark with some decisions to make. Samuelson, top of the key, Trey off the mark. This off the target for Haley Jones, who's now trying to see if she can post up on the block.
Yeah, she's had success in doing that. Right idea, poor execution.
Seen a lot of that from her time at Stanford. Erica Wheeler. She's just so crafty. I know the Atlanta fans have seen her before in a dream jersey, but just what she's been able to be for them off of the bench as well. She's also a steady vet for this young group.
She really is, and probably doesn't get the credit for being the steadying force that she is, because she's not always on the floor, but in the locker room and everywhere. I don't think I saw that for the first few weeks of the season. And actually, I was actually in the building for Indiana's first and second games of the season at Connecticut, and then their first home game against New York. And this team is much more in sync. Their chemistry, the understanding of what's expected on every possession. It's just it's a much more well-oiled machine on the offensive end, which I think takes pressure off of their defense.
And I think Tanisha Wright mentioned it as well. It's a team that understands what they do well and how to fit within that role. Gray got stripped underneath. Knowing where each individual is going to be. You're just putting on a clinic here tonight. Gray loses the handle once again, and that leads to the ninth turnover for Atlanta. Atlanta actually 3-4 at home, just one of 4 teams in the league that have a better road record than at home. Crowd wanted the push off as Haley Jones went streaking across the paint. Ariel Powers with the Euro step, got clipped at the leg, so she'll get 2 free throws. If you're just joining us, Ryan Howard out. We have not received an update on when she'll be able to return, but right now
on the bench, Christy Sides has been challenging them up in their face, and they've just been having a couple smiles. We saw Caitlin Clark, Christy Wallace with a couple smiles, and through the adversity, they've seen calm and composed, which is really impressive to me for such a young squad.
Kelsey Mitchell, after their last game, when they mentioned how this streak has been coming alive, she said, yes, you've seen the youth early, but also you have to credit the vets and what it's supposed to look like. Turnover for Atlanta as Kelsey Mitchell able to retrieve it.
Yeah, you kind of forget until you're listening to pressers just the leadership of Kelsey Mitchell and the experience more than anything. How quickly have these years flown by that she is now a veteran voice on this squad. She started off the season injured, and that also added on to the lack of consistency and the experience for this team early on. She had to work her way back, missing training camp. And so they've had a number of adversities, but their perseverance is what stands out at this point in the season.
They might talk about that in the back as Caitlin Clark and Alyssa Smith were battling for that rebound.
Backcourt.
That should have been a backcourt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead, it's another bucket for Indiana. So a timeout will be called for Atlanta. Substitutions as well. Efficient tonight. 57% from the field, 52% from 3. Turnover up top, though. But Indiana has shot over 50% in the last 2 games. Kubai asked for the ball back, going at Smith. Couldn't find the angle, and a travel call there.
And Indiana has...
Under the 2-minute mark here in the ball game. We talked about how Fever have found their stride, have won 5 of the last 7 games. How about defensively as well? Gave up 90 or more points in the first, or 5 of their first 9 games. Have only done that once since then.
Well, in the Dream shooting, 35% from the field, 22%. That just went down. Atlanta is important. To get this first win against Atlanta, you know you can take that home win streak on the road with you, and you're going to need it because you're going to go into some of the toughest arenas to play in the WNBA. And you need that consistency, you need that togetherness, you need to be able to weather the storm Tina Charles has been really brilliant on the offensive end for the Dream. 24-7. Haley Jones with 12, 5, and 3. I thought she really played with confidence. I know that she was challenged defensively trying to pick up Clark, but I really enjoyed her effort in the way she has been able to carry over a good game in Minnesota to a good game here tonight.
So a foul up the
doing it at a very efficient rate.
in the 4th consecutive game for Nalissa Smith, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell scoring in double figures. So a turnover for Unbelievable to start this season, and Dewana Bonner. As this one will come to a close here at State Farm Arena with Indiana still scorching. They improved to 7-10 on the season, and that